What's going on, man? You got this auction going on. I was just checking out that auction. I was just telling you about Tougher Than Leather. I see I got the post on there. I'm about to put my bid in to get that Tougher Than Leather poster,
Yeah.
man. But tell me about this thing you got going on right now.
Well, the way, first of all, me and Russell and Reverend Run started this organization 30 years ago. It started really with me not being able to find a place to show my own art because the galleries only were really showing black artists at the time in a few galleries, and they were then showing really established artists, and there were all these young artists who had no place to show. So I said, well, if I can't get a show, they can't get a show. Let me start something. So I went to Russell and Run and asked them to help me start a foundation, a nonprofit foundation, art gallery. And so Russell paid for the fundraiser and Run-DMC, and we got Eartha Kitt to perform for the old folks.
Hmm.
And we raised $250,000, and that was in 1995. So we are now in 2025, and I've been running this thing for 30 years. It's a labor of love for me. I'm not an employee. We have a director, but I make sure that this thing keeps running. And so Russell's in Bali. He's busy being a yogi. And
Yeah.
when he left LA, he's sitting on the mountaintop doing yoga and all that. And he had a wellness hotel and resort there, and very happy with what he's doing. And not that he's left hip hop behind because that's always his roots, but he left all these gold albums. And it started out with Danny. I got some of your art that was on my wall. Do you want it back? And so they sent me all these pictures of his storage in LA. I said, well, what are you doing with these old albums, man?
Hmm.
He said, well, they're just sitting there. I'm not putting them up in here, and I don't know what to do. I said, well, maybe we could use these to, raise some money for Rush. And Rush basically what Russell's name was when he first started, Russell Rush. And so he said, "Yeah, go ahead, man. Well, let's auction them off and let's see if we can raise some money to keep this thing going." 30 years, it can't stop, don't stop now. So that's how we started rolling.
Nice, nice, nice. So how long have you actually had, I mean, with these items, how long have these items been up for auction?
I don't know. It's about maybe 2 weeks now, a week and a half or something. I just got them. I just sent the authentication records saying, how I got them and this, that, and the other, and how that they actually Russell stuff. And yesterday. So they've been up for a minute, and we're going to see how they do. I don't know what they're going to raise, but certainly at least it'll raise awareness of, and especially this interview will raise awareness of what we're doing here. And we were in New York, and now we're in Philadelphia.
Okay.
Um,
That's what I was gonna
we're
say.
in a neighborhood.
That's what I was gonna say. I saw it was
Go
in
ahead.
it went to Philadelphia from New York and all that. So you multiple locations.
Well, it was. There's a sad story with this. When I moved to Philly, and one of the reasons I was moving to Philly is to expand Rush beyond New York. I had opened a gallery in Chelsea, and I had opened a gallery in Brooklyn, and so we were going to have three galleries, one in Philly. And that year before, that was in 2016, and so I sold my brownstone and bought the building straight out of my pocket. Didn't want nothing from nobody, and I bought the building and renovated it. And then Russell got accused of sexual assault. All of our board members walked away. All of our sponsors walked away. Everybody walked away. I don't want to be associated with this. And Russell stepped down because he didn't want to get no dirt on this thing. And he said, man, listen. I said, but you're innocent. He said, nah, well, they don't fit. Till we straighten this out, I can't be involved because with the work we're doing is too important. So, I mean, we're in Philly, and I really wanted a neighborhood that had no cultural resources. And Philly has a bunch of neighborhoods like that. I wanted to put it in the hood where it would do the most good. There's plenty of galleries downtown and this and that and the other, but there are no galleries in certain neighborhoods, usually neighborhoods of color. Uh, and so I found a building and I renovated it and we opened, and people said, nobody's going over there.
Hmm.
And everybody came.
Nice.
Everybody came because it's about the art. It's not about that, and it helps the neighborhood. The kids from the neighborhood come, the families from the neighborhood comes, and the artists and their friends come. So we're doing well over there.
Yeah, yeah. Like I said, man, I've always heard about you being associated with art. Can you just tell me a little bit, just kind of a little bit history wise? When did what kind of attracted you to that? How early did you start getting into it? When did you start kind of putting your own pieces
Oh,
together? just that whole thing.
Okay. Well, my father, I also created deaf poetry. So we'll talk about that a little later. My father was a poet. He worked for the Board of Education. My mother was a painter, and she worked for the Department of Parks. They had their good city jobs. You know how that goes. And so I inherited a little bit of both of them. And my mother used to teach me to paint, although my father insisted I go to school to be a social worker, so I would make sure I had a job instead of being a broke artist. And so, that's what you say. You're not going to be a broke artist. You get a job and paint after work. And so around 1992, I stopped being a social worker. I didn't feel like I was doing anything that was changing anything. And I knew art helped save people's lives. It helped save my life. In 1992, I went into recovery. And I'm going to be very candid with you. I went into recovery. I've been getting high since I was 15. And by 37 in 1992, my run was over.
Hmm.
And I
What
went away.
did you
Russell
just
paid
get
for me to
tired or
go.
what? Because I mean, these stories are
No,
always interesting.
my run for drugs was over. I just couldn't do it anymore. I couldn't do it anymore and hold my life together.
Hmm.
I was about to go down the tubes.
So
It
you had to
was
make
like
you were at the
all
fork
I
in the road to say, well, I'm either gonna keep getting high or I'm actually gonna live a life that's like productive and whatever and whatever.
that's what it came down to. And Russell was very instrumental, and the president of Def Jam at the time, Carmen Ashurst, was very just. Carmen saw me. She lived around the corner from me in Bedford Stuyvesant, and she saw me chasing somebody at 7 a.m. in the morning down the street with a butcher knife, with no shoes on.
Man,
And Carmen said, Russell, Danny is out of control, and we got to do something. So I sat down with them, and I decided to go to rehab, and they sent me to rehab in a place called Hazleton in Minnesota. And after 30 days, I got clean, came back, and within a year since I was a social worker, with degrees, I started becoming a counselor. And so what happened was I wanted to do something I thought was more meaningful. And I knew art really changed lives because I had taken up art, and art sort of replaced drugs for me, being real
wait,
candid.
wait. So
And
it
I
really
knew that it
only
changed.
this is the first time this is one of the first times I've heard where someone said they went to rehab for 30 days and that was it. You were just it worked.
No, well, yeah, that pretty much was it. I had gone when I was 20
Gotcha.
and it didn't take. But one of the things, this is a real story. I promised Russell that I would stop getting high, and I didn't want to disappoint my little brother.
Hmm.
And he had spent all this money to send me to Hazelden, and then I came back, and because I was a social worker, I had the skills to implement it within myself. And then the guy at the social work clinic gave me a job being a counselor. So that also reinforced my, and I still have people to this day who said, Danny, without you, I'd still be getting high. They
Hmm.
hit me every year on the anniversary. And so for 2 or 3 years, I did that and did art. But then I started Rush in 1990. This was 92. I started Rush in 95. And Rush became my life. And so art became my entire life. And then a little later on, I started Deaf Poetry because I was part of the poet. But I immersed myself in the arts, and it sort of really replaced drugs in my life. I mean, I had a brownstone, I had a wife, I had this, that, and the other. But really, my life was just about getting high.
So you were
And the rest of it was just
so
holding it
pretty much
together for the
functioning.
world.
So functioning or functioning at it, quote
I
unquote.
was functioning. I was definitely functioning. Oh yeah, I was definitely functioning. Yeah, trying to figure out $100 a day, but functioning. And it
Yeah.
got to the point where it was a hard job, but it had gotten to the point where I was 3 months behind. A lot of things happened. I was 3 months behind in my mortgage. Didn't want to lose my brownstone, so that was a motivating factor, And I
Did
did
you
not
have
want to
kids and all
be.
that?
I had a son.
Okay.
I still have a son.
Yeah.
And he knew, but sort of didn't know. I mean, I had a brownstone. I had a wife, a professional wife. My life looked perfect on the outside, but all night long I was in the after hours clubs. I was hanging out with gangsters. I mean, the whole lifestyle, not just the use of the drugs, but the whole street lifestyle. I was caught up in it really deeply, and I was with people who were very dangerous people. And I was a half hippie, half black cat. And they loved me. And these dudes were carrying guns and shooting at people, and I was standing around. Yeah, okay. And I just said, either I'm going to get killed or I'm going to get pulled into killing somebody or I'm going to die in one of these after hours clubs. So and I told Russell, I got to go away.
What's
The other
the
part of it was pay my mortgage. Pay my mortgage so I don't lose the house.
you know, I'm only asking because you mentioned it. You said about somebody seeing you chase somebody with a butcher knife. What was that about?
It's so weird. I mean, the dude, this is my high school best friend. Uh, he stayed over my house one night, and I had all these vintage comic books worth a lot of money. And I woke up, and he was gone, and my comic books were gone. And when he came back, he had sold my comic books,
Mm.
and we got into an argument. And I grabbed the knife, and he took to running, and I took to chasing him. And Carmen Ashurst, who was the president of Def Jam, lived directly around the corner. She was on her way to work. And she saw me running down the street chasing this man. And she told Russell, said, Danny's out of control. And so that's what happened. He stole all my comic books.
Man, okay, so this whole time though, I mean, you're saying you're doing social work and you know kind of caught up in addiction and all that, but your brothers are crazy successful in music. You never had aspirations of doing that at the time when your brother was starting Def Jam. Did he come to you and tell you like, "Hey, I'm gonna do this thing. Do you want to get down with me?" Or you were just already too caught up in whatever life you were living at the time?
That's another story. Russell, my parents were giving Russell early on before Def Jam, right at the point of Rush Productions, which is before the record company, just the music management company. Russell was getting money from my parents to finance parties, this, that, and the other. I had college tuition fund at my grandparents. I took my college tuition fund. My parents would not give him any more money. They're like, go back to school. Russell was like, no, no. So I took my college tuition fund and gave it to Russell.
Oh wow.
And Russell went on and gave parties and started becoming successful. He said, Danny, you want to get down with me? And I said, and we were standing on Jamaica Avenue, I remember. And I said, no, this ain't something I want to do. It's not my thing. You know, I understood and I like rap, but it wasn't my thing. If I had to pick music, it was jazz or rock. You know, I would just be hanging out with my brother. And, you know, I had too much of my own personality, even though how successful and how much money they made, it just wasn't me. And but I always went to the early parties. I was there, I was this, that, and the other. And in many ways, you know, I ran up on people that Russell got stuck up a couple of times. I went and got the money back, you know, those sort of things. But, you know, we were taught to look out for each other. And that my father and my mother said, y'all gonna have to look out for each other. Way before the money, we've been a really close set of brothers. Russell, Run, me, Joey, and me. And so, you know, they had my back and I had their back. And whatever happened. And so this thing with Rush and this thing with Def Poetry was really Russell getting my back on the ideas that I had.
Hmm.
You know, it was like, okay, Russell did not believe in Def Poetry. He had done Def Comedy and he was worried about, ain't nobody listening to no poetry. And I said, yeah, Russell, they are. And so, you know, I asked Mos Def, who was living in the same neighborhood as I was living in, to be the host, and we started taking it around the country. And Russell was like, oh, wow. And I pitched it to Richard Pepler at HBO at the time, and they bought the show. And so, you know, that's the history on that. But, you know,
And
it's
that's
really a
iconic for
family
that. And that's
story. I
iconic. I
mean,
don't want to
all of
move too
this
fast.
stuff. And so,
That's iconic for that era though, Def Poetry Jam, because there's
huh?
I said that's iconic though for that particular era, like that early mid 2000s when you talk about Def
Oh,
Poetry Jam, you know what I mean?
it
Um,
was. It was.
and ever so often there's a
Yeah,
clip that goes
the
viral.
90s, the only people,
There's a clip that goes viral ever so often with
yeah,
Kanye
people
West when he
didn't,
was doing what was it? She's
yeah,
so
we had Kanye West, we had Jamie Foxx,
yeah.
we had all the old poets, Amiri Baraka, we had Sonia Sanchez, we had all kinds of people who wanted to be on Def Poetry. And you know, and it was a great show and it sparked people's mind. And the reason that I wanted that show was, you know, more than not having a TV show, I wanted the messages. I grew up listening to the Last Poets
Hmm.
and talk about social liberation and this, that, and the other. So I grew up listening to this, and I thought those messages were needed and still are needed so much. So, you know, Russell got behind me. Eventually, after we showed him, we did a showcase on 23rd Street in Manhattan in Chelsea, where we had Rakim as the headliner.
Nice.
And you know, Rakim Russell saw Rakim and he saw the crowd. We had like 1,800 people standing in line to get into this place. And Russell was like, I don't believe this. I don't believe this poetry thing. He said, I thought it was just guys in backpacks talking. I said, no, Russell, this is a phenomenon. This is something that's really, really going on. And so HBO took us to the Aspen Comedy Festival where they try out new things. And it was the biggest ticket at the Aspen Comedy Festival. George Lucas was in there. All kinds of people were vying to get tickets. And we killed them. We sold out every show, and HBO gave us 7 shows, and they gave us 11 shows. And then we won a Peabody Award, and then we took it to Broadway and won a Tony Award for the Broadway and all of that. So, I mean, it's been a career in the arts that both of my brothers have supported me in. I couldn't have done this alone. I had the ideas for this, but they had the influence, and they were willing to use it for me. So
It's cool. So how long is the auction gonna stay open till?
I think its auction is up for a full month. I don't know the end date right now, off the top of my head, but it's up for a full month. I mean, we have Public Enemy albums. We have those posters. We have that Run's House show signed by everybody in the family. I mean, we have Houdini up there. We have De La Soul, I believe. We have all
EPMD, I
kinds
think
of
I
great
seen in there.
albums. Huh?
I think I may have saw EPMD on
I'm
there.
sorry.
It's some legendary stuff, man. I may have seen
I
EPMD.
think EPMD is on it. Yeah. And most of those cats I've met when they were coming into the office at Def Jam or at Rush Productions.
Let me
So,
ask you, did you
it has a history for me.
did you think though? I mean, you talking about, you know, giving your brother money to start up his thing back in the 80s. Did you think when Rush was starting, his management company and getting into Def Jam, and then your other brother would start to do this rap thing, and he gets with his friend and they start this rap group? Did you think it would be what it is, like as iconic and legendary and as just as great as it is today? What did you see it
And
as?
frankly,
Like, uh,
I just saw it as me helping my brothers.
hmm.
I, I really didn't think of it. I mean, I
Did you see
knew
them? I
Russell's
mean,
drive.
beyond your involvement, did you see what they were doing as something that would
I
be?
saw what they were doing was significant. Was it going to be as because the music was significant, and everybody was listening to the music. So I saw them doing something that whether it was going to last these 50 years, I didn't. I had no idea. That I didn't have any idea. I knew that it was going to be hits. I knew the records were going to be hits. I was there saying "Ho" on Curtis Blow's first album in Rocky Ford's basement. We were recording down there. These are the breaks, and so I knew the momentum of what it was. I just didn't know how far it would go. I I don't think anybody did. I
Yeah.
don't think anybody did. Russell might have had an inkling, but how big it got to billionaires out here making billions of dollars off of this. I don't think so. I mean, like when you got your Jay-Z's and it's just a huge worldwide phenomenon. When Russell he got New York Times, the 25 most important people who influenced America, and Russell was named one of them. I sort of knew then.
Hmm.
Like damn, damn, Holmes. I talked to Russell this morning. He called me from Bali. He doesn't know about this thing, but he just calls me. We talk about 2 or 3 times a week. There's a 12-hour difference, so he sometimes called me at 4 o'clock in the morning. But that's beside the point anyway. But yeah, we're still tight,
Yeah.
all of us, man.
Were you ever around when any of the things were being created? Like, do you have a memory from like maybe a session or maybe a moment in hip hop or something that you'll never kind
Oh,
of forget, a
I
real
was there
dope
for
story
Walk.
or something you could tell?
I, I was there for the recording of Walk This Way
Man,
with Aerosmith.
stop it. Please,
I got there.
can you break that down for me if someone who just wasn't there, could you just describe, like, take me right back to that time?
I remember that I was doing something or other, and I knew it was it. And Joey sent the car service for me and took me to the thing. And I walked in, and they were recording, and I sat there. But see, I liked Aerosmith before Run-DMC. Like I said, I was rock and roll, so I was really hyped to see. And then when it came out, I said, I like this better than the original Walk This Way.
Hmm.
Uh, but I don't. Did I meet them? I said hello. I mean, I didn't. I've always been not shy, but like I'm not running up in nobody's face and like, oh, star. I just that ain't me. But it was to see Dow and Joe and Jay up there with these iconic rock groups. And I was there when Larry Smith did Rockbox, you know, and I was, Larry, you got to do something with rock in the background. So I was there, key moments and stuff. But I was just like the brother saying a few things and just that. You know. But being there was exciting. Just to see my little brother doing this. Joey went to Catholic school. He went to St. Pascal's. He went to Catholic school. He was the good kid, you know, the good curly head kid. So to see him do this was sort of mind blowing. Like, damn. And you know, he became like a superstar. You know, when I did not go to Live Aid. I wanted to be at that, but I didn't go to that. But you know, they would call me from stuff. I don't know, but at that time in the early part of hip hop, bro, I was in the streets.
Yeah.
Like, quite frankly, up until '92, I was in the streets. So you know, I would go places, but you know, I remember when the filming of Crush Groove, and I can't tell anybody's name. The filming of Crush Groove, I was running out copping coke for people coming back. Danny, go give me a 50.
No shit.
Uh, yeah, I mean, you know, I was
That's one of my
there.
that's one
Me
of
and
my
Orange
favorite
Juice
movies, man. I
Joe.
watch Crush Groove like once every other month, man. Like that's one of my favorite movies.
Yeah, that's my pops in there, the preacher. You
Yeah,
know,
the
so
preacher.
you
Yeah,
know that.
yeah.
Yeah, he's the preacher. Oh man, I got a little story to tell you that blew my mind. But anyway, you know, but I was there with Orange Juice Jones when he wrote "Walking in the Rain,"
Orange, I know
and we was
Orange. I've interviewed Orange Juice, man. I had him. He came on my podcast, and I had him redo the monologue, man, for me. And he ran through the whole thing, man. Like, yeah, Orange. I
me
mean,
and Juice would tight. That was my band. We was running the streets together. Me and Juice would run the streets together because we had similar ideas about what Juice was out there in the streets too. He was for real. But we had a lot of fun, man. We had a lot of fun, and to see where it's at. You know, even today, I went to the 50th anniversary at Yankee Stadium,
hmm,
and the iconic the response to Run-DMC to this day, 50 years later, it's like crazy. It's like he's like John Coltrane, Miles Davis, Mick Jagger. They like, they are that level, and he's my little brother.
right.
It just blows my mind. So you know, I have to tell you, I have Russell's Run-DMC, the first album, Gold album. I was not giving that one up. That's on my wall in the basement.
Right.
I was not putting that one up. I got Joey's first album, Run-DMC 500, the Gold album for that, Run-DMC. That one I kept for myself.
Yeah, man. You said something. You said Joey. You said he was like the good kid, but like
Anyway,
the
yeah,
character of Run is like this braggadocious. You know what I mean? Like,
not that I no no.
I say that's not my little brother.
That wasn't him. He wasn't braggadocious. He he was he was short, but he was not a bragger. He was not just he went to Catholic school. He came home. Even when he started becoming Run, Joey is a quiet dude. I mean, Joey used to get real nervous before he went on stage, and he didn't come to being Run as far as I say easily.
Hmm.
He was good at it, but it didn't fit his personality. He tries to avoid crowds. He tries to avoid that. He doesn't avoid the stardom, but he doesn't like to be like people running up on him. No, right.
Being
He doesn't like
bombarded.
all of that.
Yeah.
Joey's a family man. He got all those kids. That's his main point in life, making sure his kids is okay. The stardom, that's great. He loved it. It did a lot for him. They got a beautiful house, this, that, and the other. He got a beautiful wife. But the whole thing with Joey is family.
Hmm.
Always has been. Always has been. It's been family.
What about with your brother Russell? Has he always kind of been the way that he's been, just kind of a go-getter, just always trying to make it happen?
That Yeah, that's who he was. I mean, even from the beginning, when we were kids, really young kids, we would go out. He used to follow me behind. We lived in Jamaica, Queens. There was still a lot of woods. We used to go snake hunting. He'd be the one to grab the biggest snake. He'd be, like he was very outgoing, and Russell was fearless. You know, We got into a fight, and I got stuck up in the park hustling, and Russell came with me back to get whatever was taken from me,
Hmm.
and we saw the cats on the base. There were about 8 of them. I said, let's forget this for now, Russell. Russell, no, fuck that. Give me the money on the product.
Hmm.
And he ran into the middle of these people. That's who Russell was. And we out there in the middle of the park fighting people.
Hmm.
Russell is no nonsense. He's the nicest guy in the world, but he did not take and did not suffer disrespect, and he wasn't afraid. Like people walked around with bodyguards. Russell never had a bodyguard. Like, yeah, I'm scared of nobody. That's who Russell was, and still is. He didn't need. I don't need a bodyguard, and apparently he didn't. You know, where other people, I got these people with entourages. Russell walked down the street by himself.
Hmm.
He's still Russell.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite before we get out of there? You have a favorite artist that was signed to Def Jam on that roster at any time?
You will see that Run-DMC was not on Def Jam, they were on Profile. My favorite artist was Public Enemy,
EE?
just because of the politics of the message, Chuck D, the flavor. I mean, I I was walking around the streets reciting their lyrics and whatnot.
It takes a millionaire.
Uh,
Man,
but
that's one of the greatest albums ever.
yeah, it, ever, 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 ever. And so and then the early albums, I mean, there was the Houdini's. All those albums were great. But the thing that stuck with me all these years is I can recite lines from Death Row, What a Brother Know. Once again, back in the day, incredible. I was like, those things stuck with me for years. It's still to this day. Sometimes my wife said, "Why are you walking around the house singing Public Enemies?" uh, I just do. So yes, they were my favorite Run-DMC group. Favorite Def Jam group. Yeah.
Yeah. So man, okay, you want to give the people the information on where they can go to check out the auction and just if they want to check out the galleries, all of that stuff, everything.
Well, the gallery is located in a neighborhood in Philadelphia called Logan, which is North Philadelphia, and it's at 4954 Old York Road. And it's a building that I bought. It has 2 galleries in it and 2 apartments, and the apartments really pay for the maintenance of the gallery and this, that, and the other. So that's how we rent it out. The auction is on a site called Golden, Goldin, and it looks good. They have great descriptions of everything. I wrote something that they put up on the site. I would hope people see the value of these historic things. These are more than just decoration or something to put on the wall. These are pieces of hip hop history. Hip hop has a significant history, and so if you get a gold Public Enemy album or a gold EPMD album, you have hit a mark in time of hip hop, and they're all early albums. So it's like this is 1990, 1980, or whatever year it was. It's like you can, especially if you're older, you remember back what was going on. You can remember the lyrics. You can remember the concert you might have went to. So it's important. These are important things, and the fact that they were given to Russell makes them even more important. So I hope people, go to the site, buy them, and then you're helping out a organization that's been around for 30 years, helping artists, help improve our community, and helping kids. So there you go.
That's what's up with Danny, man. I appreciate you, man. Like I said, I've always heard about you. So to sit here and be able to get a conversation, man, this was great, man.
I appreciate you, boss. Thanks, Donnie.
Yes, sir.
Peace and love.
Donnie Houston.